Our guest, Michael Jonas. He is the creator of those romantic games. We have had him on before, and some of you may remember Michael. The one we're going to talk about today is called An Enchanted Evening. It's a romantic game for a couple to share, and also Michael and his wife have written a book called The Book of Love, Laughter, and Romance. And Michael, I think just about any day of the year you're ready to talk about romance, aren't you?
I had better be.
So now you celebrate it.
Of course we do.
Yeah.
Our argument has always been that while Valentine's, for example, is a wonderful opportunity for people to express their love and their care and their affection for each other, what happens to the other 364 days?
Mm-hmm.
And so it seems to us that if you want to keep your life really exciting and really stay connected and engaged with your partner, the 365-day Valentine works pretty well.
Well, if we can do that as long as it isn't commercialized, because one thing I've noticed is that businesses have taken advantage of these romance days. You know, you've got very commercialized Valentine's Day.
Well, that used to be the argument
Day,
about,
all
these
other days.
bizarre holidays were created by Hallmark.
Right.
And every time someone comes forth with, Albanian Flag Day or, Lithuanian Recipe Day,
right.
a Hallmark publishes a series of cards,
That's
and you're
right.
made to feel guilty if you don't buy one and send it to somebody.
You're saying decommercialize this and every day celebrate romance.
Well, if you look, for example, at the things that couples are doing that really keep their relationship interesting, it's the everyday stuff. It's not just the anniversaries. It's not just the Valentines. It's not just the birthdays, although those are wonderful excuses for doing big things like weekend getaways or, something more indulgent. But it's the everyday. It's the Post-it note. It's the peck on the cheek. It's the flower for no particular reason. It's the handwritten note that you find in your, intimate wear drawer that says, you look really sexy when you wear these. That's the stuff that makes it fun to be together.
Yeah. And we're going to have some ideas from our listeners as well. But, Michael, before we do that, I want to introduce you again to our listeners. You have a fascinating background. You now are essentially a game producer, but you sure didn't start out that way, did you?
No, actually, we stumbled into the game business, if you will, because all of this started for us a number of years ago after an argument. And Barbara, who is my wife, we've been married now 34 years, and my business partner, actually created what became An Enchanting Evening as a personal kiss and makeup game. And the idea was to get us to focus on the things we love and like about each other, the things we find attractive, the things we enjoy sharing. The genius of what she did in the original game, the kiss and makeup version, was to put in questions and cards that would invite us to be playful and to be intimate, but in a very indirect and very subtle way, so that when we transferred all of that kind of approach to a game, which became An Enchanting Evening, the idea would be to let couples find the way in which they felt comfortable being playful and intimate rather than our telling them what to do.
So she came up with the idea because you guys weren't getting along too well?
It wasn't that we weren't getting it. We had a specific disagreement.
Okay.
And I was getting ready to go at it, and it was a typical, one of those little arguments that you can make a mountain out of real
blow it
fast.
up out of proportion, yep.
Right. So I was going out of town on a trip, and she couldn't wait for me to go, and frankly, I couldn't wait to go. I was coming back New Year's Eve day, and we typically do not go out New Year's Eve. That's one of the nights we like to spend, just at home quietly. I don't want to overpay at restaurants. I don't want to drive out there with the people who are using my car for target practice. So what she did was she thought she doesn't want to start the New Year's with the continuation of this discussion. It was so ridiculous. And she thought, how can I break us out of that mode and into the things we really find exciting about each other and the relationship? So she had this game idea, and I don't know where it came from because neither of us were, quote, game people. I came home from the trip. There was a note on the front door that said, put on something comfortable and meet me in the living room at 8 o'clock. And as I have said before, I may be dumb, but I am not that dumb. So I came in the house. Barbara said, how was the trip? I said, fine. She said, good, I'll see you at 8 o'clock. Figuring if we didn't start talking, we wouldn't start arguing. And I showed up at 8 in the living room, and she had done for the living room what we suggest to couples who play An Enchanting Evening, and that is create a romantic environment. We don't have a specific lock on what that environment should have, but if you enjoy candlelight or music or things to eat and drink or whatever is appropriate for your relationship, whatever is fun for you, whatever is seductive for you, do those things. And that's what Barbara did. And then she said, I have this little game. Would you like to play? And I said, sure. What's the worst thing that can happen to me? And I think you start from the assumption that you're in love with someone, you're in a relationship. This isn't going to be a painful experience. It's going to be fun. I mean, guys, for example, that are reluctant to sit down with their girlfriends or wives and play a romantic game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just
They need
can't
to let
even
go of
imagine.
that. They need to think of this in terms of how much fun we're going to have together.
See, but you've got to be really vulnerable to be able to do that.
Well, the game helps bring out the kinds of feelings and thoughts that people have often and in the rush and crush of our lives. And we lead such complicated and compact lives that we don't often take the time to say that dress or that coat or that suit or that shirt looks attractive on you, or the nape of your neck is particularly sexy to me, or do you remember the time we stopped for and did such and such? I mean, we feel those things. We just sometimes need an excuse to shut off the world and take the time to express them and enjoy them. That's what an enchanting evening does, and that's what Barbara did with the first game. It was to shut off the world and get us to focus on the stuff that made being together so wonderful.
Our guest is Michael Jonas. He has a number of games, An Enchanting Evening, Two to Tango. He also has the Book of Love, Laughter, and Romance. Right.
We also have a brand new website.
Oh, good.
It's timefor2, timefortwo.com.
Timefor2.com.
You have a game called Romantic Sensations, which is a game about romance and the five senses. That actually came from, the idea for that game came from the Book of Love, Laughter, and Romance when we were putting together the information that we wanted to include in the book. And the book is really not a manual. It's not a how-to. Barbara and I don't consider ourselves
book's fun.
experts.
The book gives you lots of ideas on
It's a
things
buffet.
to do. Yeah.
Then there were some other cute suggestions, for example, like when your kids go to sleep, you go to sleep at the same time, get up a half an hour earlier and take a shower together, or go for a walk together, or just have a cup of tea or coffee in the morning before the kids get up, when it's still kind of quiet, like you were talking about, the sun just sort of breaking, and you can really start the day on a kind of soft note instead of that frantic rushing around trying to get everything pulled together.
I think I'm kind of surprised that you say a lot of this should be done in the home, whereas very often I read these advice books where they say go to a hotel, get away from your setting.
I will give you the advantages to go to a hotel, and as far as people saying, well, I can't afford to go to a hotel, couples have told us they keep a jar in their bedroom or in the bathroom, and the change goes in there, and you'd be very surprised how fast it adds up. And most hotels around the country are business hotels, and they want to draw local people in for the weekend and have all kinds of special deals.
But we don't see any reason why, with a little bit of imagination and a little bit of paying attention, you can't create a romantic ambience in your home, that you can't change the environment. In the chapter in our book, Fanning the Flames, which is about getting your relationship out of those inevitable flat spots, there are some really easy-to-do things that, and they're premised on change creates energy, and usually it's a positive change, it's positive energy. An $8 dimmer switch, a couple of $1 candles, some flowers, clean up the bedroom, get the magazines out of there, the skis from the corner, the kids' toys, make it into an adult room. If the kids come in with their toys, which is fine, when the kids leave, so do the toys. This doesn't mean that it's this isn't going to look like it's necessarily a bordello, but it's the adult retreat.
Right.
It's where you can go to be intimate, and you make it appealing to be in the room. It's not just a functional room. It's actually an attractive room that draws you in.
These are just some great ideas. You can see why I love these folks, Barbara and Michael Jonas. They're the creators of a number of romance games. And Barbara and Michael, why don't we tell people what we're going to do here in terms of playing the game with them?
We're going to degrade and embarrass and humiliate them. And then we're going to rehabilitate them, and they're going to feel spiritually uplifted.
Everybody just hung up.
Actually, what we're going to do is take some cards from either An Enchanting Evening or Romantic Sensations, and they're kind of light and playful, and there may be cards about experiences that they've enjoyed with their partner, or some things they find attractive about their partner.
Diane, you're up first. Hi, Diane.
Hello.
Are you in a romantic mood today?
Oh, I could be.
Okay.
Listen, you guys have 6 months of the year you have perfect cuddling weather.
Yeah, but that also means 6 months we don't. So.
Diane, are you in a relationship?
Yes, I am.
Are you married?
Yes, married.
For how long?
13 years.
Okay, then you have a lot to draw on. Let me ask you this question. It might be pizza on a rainy night or a romantic sunset on a beach. Describe a magic moment that you have shared with your husband. Could have been something yesterday. It could have been something 13 years ago.
A favorite song that triggers memories.
Sure.
Oh, sure.
It's Crystal Gale, and it's Just You and I.
Oh, yeah.
Do you associate that song and your husband with a particular experience or a place?
Yes, it's one of our first dates.
Have you ever told him about it?
Yes, I have.
And what kind of response do you get? You like to hear it?
Just affectionate, just a nice.
Well, that proves our point about why people play these games.
You know, one of the beauties of answering some of the questions and then reminiscing together,
Yeah.
the feelings that you shared and that one of those first dates that you have, those feelings actually come back in the room, and that chemistry is there together.
Thanks, Diane. We appreciate your call. Let's go to Beverly. Beverly, you're up next with our guests Barbara and Michael Jonas.
Hello.
Hi.
Beverly, good morning.
Good morning.
Are you in a relationship?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. And how long have you been married?
28 years.
So you're just getting warmed up, too?
That's it, yeah. The
I
kids are
understand.
gone,
Okay.
and we're just discovering each other again.
Beverly, you're supposed
that-
to say 28 short, wonderful years. That's
They
what-
are.
right.
They have been short, actually. Really.
Good.
Yeah, that's the scary part, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, they go so fast.
And they go faster. Well, this is a question about preferences. You and your husband are planning a romantic weekend away. What 2 articles of clothing do you hope he brings with him?
What a question.
Yeah, that is a real...
You're making us think today.
That I hope he brings.
Yeah. What 2 articles of clothing do you hope he...
Now, you'll notice the question says brings. Doesn't say anything about wearing.
Huh.
No, it does. It implies, what would you like to see, what 2 articles of clothing would you like to see him in when you've gone away with him on a romantic weekend?
Oh, you know, this is going to sound strange. A white shirt, tie, and suit.
Well,
Really?
You like him in a suit.
I love him in a suit.
Does he
I like
does he have the kind of job where he does not dress formally for work?
Exactly.
So that would
Oh.
be moving the other way, where people dress down in some occasions. This would be dress up.
Yes.
Have you told him this?
Oh, yeah.
So does he bring this stuff along like
Oh,
that?
no. My husband is not romantic.
He may need one of these games.
I think
Beverly.
you're right.
Okay.
Great, thank
Thanks, Beverly. Now, Barbara and Michael, this is exactly the reason you do this, right?
Yes.
I can just hear this. You know, she's looking for something. The guy's not very romantic. I have to admit, I'm not one of the most romantic people in the world either. But a game might get you going, right?
Well, I'm sorry.
But one of the things if you were playing this with her husband, and you're each going to be taking, as you play the game the first time or the second or third, you're going to learn a lot about your partner's preferences, whether you've been together for
Yes.
50 years.
That's right. And sometimes maybe he was not aware of the fact that she wanted him to wear a suit
And
or
he'll
something.
tuck that away,
Yeah.
and he just might surprise her.
Russ, you're up next. I'm glad to hear a guy call in to play along. Hi, Russ.
Hi.
Are you in a relationship?
Yes, 23 years.
Okay, then let me ask you this question. This is a little bit of fantasy.
Okay.
The H.G. Wells time machine is in your driveway. Where in history or in the future would you like to rendezvous with your wife?
Oh, that'd be history.
Where would you go?
Where would you go?
Oh, I'd go back to, about the 1850s or maybe a little earlier.
Out west?
And the western setting, right into town on your horse,
After you guys have just panned your 455th pound of gold?
There you go.
Russ, do you think she would think that's romantic?
It might take some convincing.
Why is that romantic to you?
I guess the simpler life where you didn't have so many outside distractions, where you were more or less forced to focus on the things around you and individuals, whereas today we have more of things to probably draw our attention away from those things.
Thanks, Russ. Ellen, you're up next to play our game with Barbara and Michael Jonas. Hi, Ellen.
Hi there.
Are you in a relationship?
Yes, sir.
You married?
Yes, 11 years almost.
So you're just also getting warmed up.
Yeah, well, I feel real warm.
Okay. Here's a question from an enchanting evening. Okay. First impressions often last. If you saw your husband at a party, what would first attract you?
I think his eyes,
And what about his eyes?
just how they're so deep blue and they twinkle.
Does he get told that by you?
I don't think I've told him that for a while.
Ellen. Ellen, tomorrow night's the perfect night.
How about tonight?
Wow. Boy, Barbara and Michael really worked their magic on Ellen, that's for sure. Thanks so much, Ellen, for being with us. Phone lines are jammed.
We're ready.
Everybody wants to play along here. And Dan...
And you said there was no heart in the Midwest.
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
I just said it's cold outside,
Oh,
so I didn't
okay.
think they'd be romantic. So, Dan, you're up next. Hi, Dan. How you doing?
Okay, fine,
Barbara and Michael, let's go with Dan.
Dan, are you in a relationship?
very much.
How long have you been
28
in
years.
it? How long?
28.
28 years.
Yes.
Okay, here is your question. Dan, you're spending the evening together with your wife because there's mutual attraction. What two things do you believe your wife finds attractive about you?
This is called bragging time.
Okay. My smile.
Do you have dimple?
Sense of humor.
And
Oh, I have a question. Does your wife let you know in some way that she finds that attractive?
She tells me.
And how does it feel?
A little embarrassing sometimes, but
it feels good.
does feel good.
That's when she does it on the PA system at the ball game.
Yeah, right.
Now,
I understand.
Barbara and Michael, can you be funny and be romantic?
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that's been interesting over the years in having couples tell us about playing an enchanting evening or romantic sensations or other games is that you can play it for very different experiences, and you can play the game in a funny, light way, or you can make it a little bit more thoughtful as the mood strikes you.
Yeah.
But I think that when couples stop laughing and they start taking everything seriously, I think those are the sort of warning signs that go up.
Thanks, Dan. I have a question for you, though. I like to tickle. Then I married a woman who refuses to let me tickle her.
Well, you'll have to find some other ways to laugh together.
I thought you were going to say I have to find someone else.
No, well, you know those large inflatable dolls?
Yeah, but I like to tickle.
I understand. It must be tough to work at the studio with you.
Well, see, now I have 3 daughters, and they let me tickle them, and I love them.
Okay, well, I think it's either that or a very, large farm animal, or
one of the things that we have learned from other couples, and we have a chapter in the book, It Takes Two to Tango, and that's really where the new game came from.
Mm-hmm.
And it's how do you get your partner to join in things that you like. But the second half of the chapter is when there are things that you don't enjoy together, how do you celebrate the differences?
That's
and
a good
I think
point.
that applies to your tickling.
That's right. So I tickle myself is what I do.
Well, there are. It's really interesting because there are. I mean, obviously, in some marriages, in some relationships, there are really profound differences. They can be religious or cultural differences. But couples who work through that, I think, at least the things that I've read and heard and seen, are couples who give each other the space to be that person without requiring that they change dramatically or acknowledge that somehow it's not appropriate.
Yeah.
That they truly do celebrate those differences.
The book's called The Book of Love, Laughter, and Romance. Barbara and Michael Jonas are with us. Janet, you're up next. Hi, Janet.
Hi.
You ready to play?
Yes, I am.
Are you in a relationship?
Yes, of 25 years.
My gosh, this is terrific stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lots of people with lots of years of marriage.
Okay, if your husband's soul were to be x-rayed, what wonderful things would show up?
Honesty, friendliness, love.
And he knows that you would find that there?
I think so.
How does it
Probably
feel?
ought to tell him.
Yeah,
you
should
probably ought to tell him.
Yeah. See, that's what's great about these games is it forces it out of you then.
Uh-huh.
Because this is just a question from the game.
Uh-huh.
And what's interesting when you said it forces it out of you, these are things that you're thinking anyway. It's not making you say
Right.
anything that you don't think, but it's giving you the opportunity.
Yes, that's right. Thanks for playing, Janet. Pam, you're up next with our guests Barbara and Michael Jonas on WHO. Hi, Pam.
Hi.
What's our question for Pam?
Well, Pam, how long have you been in a relationship?
I've been married for 15 and a half years.
Here's your question. You bought a flying bed at a Persian market. What romantic place would you like to fly to with your husband?
I'd like to go to the mountains.
I'm sorry.
To the mountains?
To the mountains.
Yes.
So this would be a bed with a cover
Yes.
and a small fireplace at the foot.
That would be wonderful.
Like, Pam, what do you picture when you say the mountains? Are you talking about the Rockies, or where are you going?
Oh, any of them. I've never been, and I just think that would be a wonderful adventure to share with him.
With snow on the
Yeah.
mountains, start
Yeah.
wintertime, warm fire.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share something that other couples have shared with us when they have certain travel desires or fantasies, and because of their work or finances and time, they can't make that happen, then they have made some very creative changes within their home. Like, for instance, one couple in Alaska told us they really were dreaming in the wintertime of going to the islands, but they just couldn't make that happen. So what they did is they rented a sun lamp and they put out a whole picnic basket. They put on calypso music and had Coco Locos and turned it in their house. And another couple wanted to go to Italy, and they couldn't, plan to go there for the couple weeks that they wanted to. So what they did is they signed up for Italian language, for language classes.
Huh.
They went out to Italian restaurants. They would read about the history of Italy. And they, in a sense, experienced it, but they experienced it without
That's
leaving
a great
their
idea.
hometown.
Thanks for calling, Pam.
Thank you.
Let's go to Julie. Hi, Julie. You ready to play?
Yep.
Okay.
Julie, are you in a relationship?
Yes, I am.
For how long?
10 years.
You're planning a sensual evening with your husband.
Okay.
How would you create a romantic atmosphere?
Do some candles and music in the stereo. I guess that's all kind of routine. Everyone does that, don't they?
Well, yeah, but just understand, the reason why everyone does that, it's like it works.
Right.
Okay.
Well, Julie, what would your husband like?
Oh, he likes those things.
Does he?
Yeah, I taught him. I've
Oh, okay. You've trained him well.
I can only come a long way.
Amazing.
Does he fetch too? Or?
Yes, he is pretty good at that too. That's kind of why I keep him around.
Thanks, Julie. What is the thing about candles? Barbara and Michael, you mentioned candles before. My wife just loves candles.
And do you?
To be honest with you, no.
Do you like a lower light?
Oh, yeah, I like no lights.
How about if she bought candles that were ticklish?
Ooh, that sounds dangerous.
Only if I could use them to tickle her. I don't want to be tickled.
It's light. I mean, the candles with the light flicker, but a
Yes.
dimmer switch with the lowering of the light.
Okay, so a dimmer switch might work.
Well, there are actually studies that have been done that in rooms where light is more subdued, people tend to talk more softly.
Yes.
And when people talk more softly, interestingly enough, people listen more closely.
That's a very good point. Kathy, you're up next with our guests Barbara and Michael Jonas. Hi, Kathy.
Hi.
Let's play.
I have enchanted evening and have really enjoyed it.
Great.
Well, harumph. Then I'll tell you what, I'm going to pull a question out of, we have not really talked about this game. It's a game called Romantic Sensations. It's about using the five senses romantically, which is something people tend to not pay attention to. But this is a question from that game, and it starts with a quote, and the quote is, "It was a look you could have poured onto a waffle." You ready? The question, if your husband or partner wanted to make you feel syrupy, how would he flirt with you, and how would you flirt with him?
Oh, goodness.
What a question.
Oh.
I bet he wouldn't tickle you. Okay.
I hate being tickled. Okay.
I know.
Okay, he wanted to make me feel syrupy. How would he flirt with me?
Is it a look? Is it a touch?
I guess I'm a touchy person, so I like to be touched. So I think if he, would just kind of come up behind me, and my neck's kind of ticklish, but if he just kind of gently nuzzle me and, just hug me and maybe, whisper in my ear something neat.
That would kind of make you melt a little
That would make me melt.
And what would make him melt?
Well, I'm sorry, what?
What would make your husband melt?
Oh, what would make him melt? Oh, boy. Oh, goodness. This is...
See, now, what would happen is if you played Romantic Sensations, and as you probably experienced when you played an Enchanted Evening, you get to find these things out in a way that you would not over breakfast in the morning.
What was funny about what Kathy said is she said that she wants to be touched, but she doesn't want to be tickled.
Well, there's something between being tickled and being punched. There's a whole range of experiences.
Barbara, Michael, what's your advice?
There's a quote in Two to Tango, and it said that loving each other is not just looking at each other, but it's looking in the same direction. And this might be an opportunity to, if you haven't been doing it, or to reconnect and go in the same direction.
It certainly, it was for us, and it has been for thousands of other couples, a really exciting way to start a new year. It's almost as if you're saying to each other, hey, we're going to pay attention to each other and to our relationship this year. We're going to have more fun together. We're going to be closer. It's going to be a little bit more sexier. We're going to experience new things together. We're going to grow together. That's a wonderful way to spend one time and life.
That's great.